Is that really a comfortable position for you? Oh, I'm talking physically.
Oh, yeah. I just had spinal surgery, so I'm a little... It's been a month, but I keep saying just so I can milk it.
Yes, milk away.
And any weird thing I do, I just blame it on my back.
Okay, right. So. Jada also still says, I just moved here, and it's been a year, so
no,
that's
I know.
okay.
Yeah, I say that too. It's been a decade.
Okay, are you cozy, comfy?
I think so.
Okay. Rocco.
Riley.
Welcome.
Thank you.
To the What Fills Your Cup podcast.
Thanks.
We are live in Nashville, Tennessee, baby.
That's right.
This is my very first travel episode. You are my first traveler. So, Rocco, what are we drinking today?
We're drinking Poppi.
Did you want to open your drink, or are we just...
Oh, I didn't know it was time. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Usually I do like a cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Mine is also non-alcoholic. I would like to
I heard they
preface.
tried to send you some.
No, so I got some issues with Recess. They messaged me, and then I'm Canadian, so they declined. So to start off, I would love for you to introduce yourself, where you grew up, and a little bit about your upbringing in the States.
In the States. All 50 of them.
Yep. I thought there was 52.
Who's telling you these things?
I don't do geography.
There's 48 continental, and then the two that you're probably thinking of, Alaska and Hawaii.
Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why we don't have that.
You should have that. I don't know. So I grew up in Maryland, which for you is about an 11-hour drive up 81 north from here. Kind of by the White House, D.C.
Oh, okay.
We call ourselves the DMV, D.C., Maryland, Virginia. But we're like right on the water. We have the Severn River, the Chesapeake Bay. We go all the way to the coastline. Obviously, we have the Atlantic. And so I grew up, fishing and crabbing and just hanging out.
So you're outdoorsy.
I can be.
Yes, you can.
I've been indoorsy the last couple weeks.
Yes,
Yeah.
spinal.
Yeah, that's why.
So in terms of opportunity for in general, was it obviously the right decision to move out of your hometown, or would you have been okay staying there?
Not in this industry, no. No. There's plenty of things that you can do in Maryland. Music is a tough one to do and be considered successful.
Did you know when you were younger that you had a passion for music and that you knew you wanted to get in that field?
Yeah, I didn't always know I wanted to get in that field, but I always I played guitar for a long time. I think I got my first bass guitar sometime in elementary school, and then I got a acoustic guitar, I think in 5th grade or something.
I think that's so cute, little Rocco.
I was like the size of my guitar. Probably still had a mustache. There's a lot of videos of me as a kid, banging on the piano or playing my guitar. My sister would sing and I would play guitar. We'd do a lot of covers.
Okay, so that's fun though that you grew up with music around you, because I was going to ask what originally got you started in the music industry and evolving with music in general.
When I decided I wanted to make it a career, I think it was some point around my sister gave me a John Mayer CD. It was Continuum, and I played it in my Walkman all the time, and I ended up learning almost all the songs on that album on my acoustic guitar. And then I was like, oh, this is awesome, I want to do this. But at first I kind of limited myself to just being a guitar producer guy. I was very insecure about singing and insecure about writing, because I feel like there's a big vulnerable layer, whereas you can just play guitar and that's not so perceived as you really opening up and do it, whereas if you share lyrics or you sing, it's more of I don't know really how to explain that, but it took a while for me to kind of fully evolve. That's
interesting, and that's cool that you grew up with music, and that's also cool that you didn't know exactly it was something that you wanted to go into and producing right away.
Yeah. It was kind of a slow burn.
Yeah, but it's burning. So for those that couldn't pick up, you're a music producer.
Producer-writer.
Yeah. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
I want to know, what's the word? Because I didn't write this question down. This is off the top of my head, but now I'm curious.
Freestyle.
What is your maybe perception, or when you hear the word music producer, what is the type of person that you visualize or think that they're going to be like?
A producer, I always picture somebody that's kind of always a studio rat. They're living in the studio, they're producing. They've there's definitely some stereotypes in the industry of people who are producers.
Sounds as though producing can be a bit more isolating. It's I'm in the studio constantly, which I think it also maybe you touch on the word stereotypes, and like
Right.
that's where some of those could maybe form from. One of the main reasons that I was interested in interviewing you is because when we first met, you had actually just started your sobriety journey. You were, I think, about a month maybe in, or just over a month, I'm pretty sure. And you have now just celebrated 180 days sober. Congratulations.
Thanks.
What ultimately pushed you or made you want to begin this lifestyle change?
I don't know if it was one thing in particular. I was always like known as like the party, animal. And I kind of really adopted that lifestyle and let it kind of take control. Like in the music industry, especially touring, on the touring side of things, there's a lot of drinking. Even in the writing side of things, you go into Warner, for example, and you've got the best open bar that you can imagine. You just pour yourself drinks, but I just wasn't the best version of myself I could be, and it was really tough to kind of come to grips with that. I would always be like, well, I could stop drinking, and the drinking wasn't necessarily the biggest issue. It was like the drinking, then I would be off doing other things. It got to a point where I just like bad things were happening all the time, and like relationships were not just romantic ones, but like my friendships and everything. It just seemed like I could tie everything back to like all these negative things that were happening. I could tie back to drinking, to doing something dumb while I was drunk, saying something stupid while I was high, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I remember my mom was like, yeah, I found this like program. She knew I had a drinking problem. She didn't know anything about like drugs I was doing and things like that. And it's not even like I woke up every day like I need a drink. It was like when I drank too much, and I acted like a fool. When I was on SSRIs, I still am on one of them, but people don't know what that is. It's anti-depression, anti-anxiety drugs. Those mixed with alcohol are it's crazy beast, because it's like you go from I'm not drunk enough to I'm blackout and I'm doing crazy out of character things.
And it's also like, for those that don't know, those supplements and tools that help actually like completely counter when you mix alcohol with them. Like you said, you will literally have one drink and you'll be like, either why am I already intoxicated, or you won't feel it, and then you'll have 4 drinks and it, again, like you said, hits you at once and you're just like, what did I do last night? I don't, what?
Oh, it was wild.
Yeah.
And there's no, you don't find the sweet spot. If there ever was a sweet spot, you lost the ability to find it. My mom told me about this program. It's called Treehouse Recovery. The branch here in Nashville is run by Brandon, who is a Marine Corps combat vet. Go in there and like, good luck making an excuse to this guy. Like just this like melting pot of people that all share one thing, and it's that we all are either in recovery or have been in recovery for a long time, and decided to check this program out straight off of Bender. I rolled in at I think I came in on a Sunday, which is our like 7 a.m. or whatever it is. So I roll in on 7 a.m. I haven't slept the night before, and I go in and it's like a 3-hour workout. Like, why did I do this? Like, I'd much rather be in bed,
Yeah.
Like, I'm hungover. I'm just feeling miserable. And then we like started talking. I remember after the class we started talking, because there's a group aspect to it too, where after we work out, the whole idea is you want to replace those like that dopamine hit you get from drugs with the working out. And it works great. I was in this group and we're learning about like the physical cravings and all these like things that I never was able to kind of define myself. And I'm like learning all this stuff, and I was like, holy shit, I wish I would have known this like for a long time and understood, and the way that they go about teaching was just immediately I was hooked, and I was like, normal addict behavior. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I want to work out till I'm ripped, and I want to fucking be the most sober ever. I'm just totally
like
all in.
Going from one extreme to the other extreme. And also it sounds like you have built a really healthy community within that program. And like people that you can also look up to in that program and be like, okay, if you can do it, then I can do it. So it's great that they have that program programs out there. Yeah,
it's an excellent program. Honestly, like fill in the blank with whatever program you want, whatever gets you that community. And also, like, I have a lot of great friends here, and they're very supportive. I remember my group of friends here, it was like my 2-month or something, like 3-month or something, like totally unimportant that I thought. And they had like a cake made for me, and they're like, happy 3 months sobriety. It was like 90 days or something. Like, yeah, it was
that's
really
amazing.
Sweet. And that amount of support is really cool, because, on the contrary, if you're still surrounding yourself with people that are like, let's go out, that first month or something, it's like, you can easily be
It's an easy like slope to slip down.
Absolutely. So having that, I think the support is the most important.
100%. I want to talk about substances in general because I think a lot of them, for many individuals, can be seen as a space where they can numb emotions or suppress feelings that they don't want to actually confront when they're sober. And from like a personal perspective, in your shoes, you agree that at times it could be a form of an escape.
Yeah. I think generally speaking it is. It's either like self-medication or a way out.
Giving yourself the space to be substance free also gives you the space to confront the emotions like that you were maybe previously trying to avoid. So what has been something or some things you have learned about yourself with cutting out drinking that you may have never learned if you had kept on having those substances to fill those voids?
Yeah, cool. I mean, there's countless, really. I think, like, I always thought I would need to have a couple drinks to be, social and enjoyable in a setting like that. And the feedback I got when I sobered up and was still going out and hanging out with people was like, God, you're so much better when you're sober. I'm like, well, fuck. But there's so many things I've learned. Well, one, it's just okay to feel certain ways. I think a lot of people like want to go drink if they start feeling, shame or depression or like things that they really aren't comfortable feeling. And really at the end of the day, you got to find out the root of that. I mean, there's so much diving I've been doing since I've gotten sober, since I've been starting to go to therapy. And, the more I dive, the more I learn about myself, the more I realize that past traumas are the reason I do this. And like, it's all this huge web that I'm trying to untangle. Yeah. You can't do that if you're just going to ignore it and
suppress it.
That's all it is. It comes back way worse than you can imagine the longer you suppress it. Like, you want to be the best version of yourself. You want to be the coolest, most badass version of yourself. And it's just impossible to do that if you don't learn about yourself.
Sounds as though you were able to recognize that you actually there's a lot of things that you love and other people love, and you don't need those activities or things to be the best version of yourself because you actually already are.
Right.
And you're now just doing extra work to continue that positive path and reconnect relationships, let's say, or put yourself, the best version of yourself, always forward. And I think that's amazing that you've learned that. And I think that it takes sometimes to hit a really low point to be like, okay, I got to figure this out because this right now is not the best version of me. And I want to see him. I want to be him. I want to see what other people might see in me that I can't see in myself. So let's like do the work and get there.
I think a lot of people can relate to like, oh, I don't care. It's just affecting me. It's like, so what if I'm not, taking care of myself? But I remember picturing, like, after a couple weeks into sobriety, I was picturing like, God, what if this was happening to like my sister and I just felt helpless and she's going through it and doing this to herself?
Yeah.
Like, if you can't find the motivation, like the internal motivation, try to find it externally from how other people are feeling about that. My whole family individually has told me how like they love seeing the old Rocco back and all this, it almost makes you want to like tear up. It's like, God, what have I been doing the last however many years?
Yeah. Like, I lost myself a bit there. And absolutely. You guys saw that and I couldn't see that. But now
when you're in it, you can't see.
No.
Yeah. It's totally just altered.
But I think also a big part of what you're talking about is community. And you touched on community as well. However, I also would argue that drinking specifically is seen as a very social activity, especially in our generation and with your work, even the examples that you provided earlier. How have you navigated boundary setting amongst your peers to avoid giving into that peer pressure, especially at the beginning months when it would have been easier to fall down that slippery slope?
Yeah, I think, it's going to be situational for everybody. For me, I had this like paradigm shift where I was like, you know what? Not drinking and not doing this stuff shows strength. When I say I'm not going to drink, I'm showing you that I have self-discipline and I have these qualities that are badass. Like if I can convince myself that it's the cool thing to do is to not drink, then I'm all in on it.
Yeah.
So I think in the beginning for me, it took a minute, but I was like, hey, what girls are going to think are attractive and what qualities like your guy friends are going to be like, oh, that's badass, is self-discipline and being true to yourself and things like that. I think For me at first, I didn't go to I was scared to go to a lot of social events at first. I think there was like finding this balance of, well, one, wanting it for yourself. You have to be like, hey, I want this for myself. And then two, it was like the more feedback I got when I was in settings and I'm like drinking something like these non-alcoholic drinks, and I'm like, hey, like everyone's like, oh, you're just, I thought like you would be, someone different when you're not like, oh, you're still
you.
Yeah. It took a minute. Don't get me wrong. It's tough being in those settings. Everyone's like, shots. I would do like picklebacks, but just the pickleback, not the first part. And so there's like just a lot of tactics that I used. But the biggest one was like the paradigm shift I had. It was like, fucking, you're badass for doing this. Yeah. This is cool. Therefore, you need to keep doing it because it's cool. The same way I thought drinking and taking shots at the bar was cool. Now I think this is cool, so I'm going to do this. Yeah. So it starts within,
I was just going to say, it sounds as though as well you started actually talking to yourself a little kinder.
Yeah, self-talk's huge.
Yes.
It's everything.
And I agree, and I always try to tell people the way you talk to yourself is what matters the most, because at the end of the day, you're going to bed at night with those internal thoughts and those emotions and those feelings. No one else is.
Yeah.
So I think I always preach, like, talk to yourself kindly. And it's not there's a difference between being cocky and confident. And I think if you're confident in who you are and what you're capable of, then no one can misjudge, or people can just see, oh, wow, that's cool. That guy's got a lot of confidence and a lot
you can be confident and humble.
Exactly.
Those aren't mutually exclusive.
Yeah. No.
So
those are great qualities, but that's great to also hear that you were like, I think this is cool what I'm doing. And actually, I don't really give a fuck if you don't, because I do. Right. And at the end of the day, I'm the one that's doing it, not you.
Yeah.
And I respect what you're doing, but like, just respect is a two-way street.
It is. And on the converse, I remember drinking a lot, and the way I would talk to myself then was really bad. It was like, you're such a piece of shit for that. I can't believe you did that, you dumbass. All this self-talk. Yeah. Like, if you talk to yourself, hey, you're a piece of shit, blah, blah, you're going to be a piece of shit. If you talk to yourself as like, hey, you're the man, like whatever it is, that type of like, hey, you're doing really well, all these good things, that's going to keep happening. Good things are going to keep happening. It manifests. It's real.
I totally agree.
And that's what's really funny is well, not funny, but just like very affirming was like, I got sober and all these great things started happening, whether it be career, relationships, people wanted to be around me more, just everything that I wanted to happen while I was drinking and stuff like that was happening now that I put it down.
Yeah.
The thing I was chasing the whole time, drinking and doing drugs and partying, it was like I was chasing this feeling how I feel now, and it's like once that happened, it's like, yeah, it's cool. It's a real.
That's so amazing.
It was amazing to experience.
This episode, like I mentioned to you, is coming out in January, and a lot of people at the start of the year do dry January, or they want to cut out alcohol for a month or however many months. So what are some tools or pieces of advice that you would give someone who is thinking of cutting out alcohol but doesn't know when or how they could start?
It starts with a choice, and then I think what really helped me is I didn't have like a finish line. I was just like, you're going to go as long as you can. Mm-hmm. And it's something you can do in the gym or anything too. It's like till failure. And then but then you have to admit that you're failing. So it's like, if I kept being like, you're just going to see how far you can push this. You're going to see how far you can go. It's not just 1 month.
Yeah.
But a month is a great accomplishment, but it's not just one. I'm going to keep going and see how far I can push the bar. The biggest piece of advice I could give someone is just make it cool in your own head. Once you believe in it to be a cool thing, or, cool is such a lame word for it, but like once you like are like confident in it, then there's no one else that can put you down about it.
Make it something that you're excited about and something that you're looking forward to, and make it so that no one else could change your mind. It could even come to like back to when someone's really passionate about a certain thing. For me, for example, I'm really passionate about this, and when I talk about it to other people, I can hear the passion in my voice, because I'm like, this is cool. I love what I'm doing. So it's like, look at it from that, is find the passion and find the self-restraint and make it what you said, cool in your head, and other people will be able to recognize and see that you like it or you like what you're doing. So then no one's going to judge you for that ever.
Right.
And if they do, then we can tell them, that's on them. That's called projection.
Amen. Like I said, it's not something and if you can do it alone, more power to you, but it's not something I could have done alone. Having a community, having good friends, having a supportive family, that's what did it. It wasn't, I just made the choice to finally not wake up and do drugs. You know, like that was the easy part. The lucky part for me was having all this support group and this family and everybody who stuck with me. So
that's amazing. So a lot of it, like, community is huge.
Community is the biggest thing ever. When you have other people
cheering for you.
Yeah, cheering for you that know what you're going through, that can, be like, oh, I remember when I was this stage and this, like just having people you can talk to that aren't actively doing, what you're trying to not do.
Yeah. I think that's something people get a bit scared of is I'm not drinking and like you are. So the temptation is right in front of me. Yeah. And that's where it's like, okay, I'll just have one. Yeah, and it's well, no, like again, with the boundaries. An addict told me this. They said the only drink you can say no to is the first one. So, and that resonated with me. I was like, oh, shit. Because like that first drink that you have, now you've opened up you can only say no to the first one. And I was like, shit. That's great. That is really good advice.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember hearing that and being like, oh, wow. So now I'm going to really battle hard for that first year. Yeah. Like, I'm definitely going to say no.
That's really good advice, though. And I think that quote alone is going to resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah, it resonated with me. I live by that.
No, I'm going to take that because I think that is really, really good advice. This is my final question for you. Okay. And this is a question I ask every single one of my guests. All right. I would love to know, what is your favorite thing about yourself and why?
I think is empathy. I think people could practice more empathy.
I think you are a very empathetic person.
Yeah.
And I think you carry yourself with a lot of strength. And I think that you are the most welcoming and kind person.
Thank you.
And that's something that I adore about you, which is also why I wanted you here today. Rocco, I wanted to say the biggest thank you for coming on the What Fills Your Cup podcast.
Of course.
Your first travel, maybe the last.
Yeah.
But
could be.
I'm so excited for everyone to hear this episode. Thank you again so very much for coming and spending some time with me today in Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. If you haven't heard it already today, I love you. And don't forget to tell someone you love them because you never know who needs it a little extra. Bye.
That's a great outro.
Thanks.
I love that.
I love you.